David. Another 22nd of September has passed, which means we're celebrating another year of the business. Welcome back to Bournemouth and the new edition, The Portal. But wait a minute, we didn't celebrate last year, did we? So actually, we need to talk about Year 6, which started with securing a small grant from the Dorset Growth Hub for the SMEMA Ethernet adapter. The SMEMA Ethernet adapter uses the same hardware platform as the Hermes adapter, but new software was commissioned and developed over the next 3 months. It provided basic SMEMA interlocking, which allowed customers to stop and start products as they move down the production line. We commissioned this product, or pivoted from the Hermes product, because we kept on getting customers requesting the Hermes product, but under further investigation we found out that actually they just wanted to interlock SMEMA. What I didn't understand is why they weren't going to existing manufacturers of similar products. And I found that out a year later at the IPC Apex Expo, which I will touch on later. But anyway, after many requests for the product, and after getting a small grant from the Dorset Growth Hub, we were able to create the product, market the product, and it was actually one of the first products to sell. So talking about sales, we opened smartfactorydirect.com in early 2022, and this was going to be our kind of retail side of the business. For our .UK British Systems is kind of the R&D manufacturing side, and in the spirit of the fourth industrial revolution, the future is about solutions engineering. So that is partnering with other suppliers and educating customers. So over the following years, we started to ship a lot of these small boxes. So we limited the amount customers could order to 2 units so they could conduct their own evaluation. And every month more sales came in. Started with the SMEMA Ethernet adapter, but then soon followed on to the Hermes adapter, and a lot of distributors were interested with the product, which we weren't initially going to focus on because we really wanted to target the smaller kind of end users who would work with us, and we could improve the product as they required, essentially, because not all the features of the Hermes standard they required. The only failure along the journey so far was the getting a package stuck in customs to Spain, and unfortunately it's the reason was I didn't use these guys behind me. I used Parcel Force, which is the parcel side of Royal Mail, but unfortunately, unlike these guys here who do end-to-end service, Parcel Force and Royal Mail hand over the parcels to local similar the post office in Spain, and so it got trapped in customs for a whole month, which was quite embarrassing, and not a lot I could do about it. But I've learnt my lesson. I'm going to go by these guys in the future, and the reason was actually I had to drop it off at this distribution hub, where now I've got a local drop-off point and a DHL Express account. So over time, smartfactorydirect.com would be more matured, and that will be our kind of customer focusing business. For those of you who are entrepreneurial spirited, you're often told to focus on what you do best. Logistics, distribution, etc. may be in the future not something that we want to do. But here's the thing, if you are a entrepreneurial spirited person, you might find that the stuff you're doing as a day-to-day job will become your business. Take a look at Amazon and what they do with cloud services. That was something they were doing in-house, and they pivoted to make it to the rest, available to the rest of their customer base. And being an e-commerce business, we also accepted credit card transactions for small payments. And that was a good strategy to use, because what it did, it allowed those customers that are constrained by their purchasing departments, i.e. the time it takes to get them to do something, to bypass that problem or that challenge by using their own corporate credit card. So that was a great move in just getting the product in the customer's hands without all the delay. And it's been interesting to see that actually the larger customers use the credit cards, as you would expect, but and the smaller companies go by the purchasing departments and therefore get delayed. So it's been kind of what you expect, but actually opposite what you would expect, depending on how you look at it. Forwarding on to June that year, I was personally nominated for Alumni of the Year from Bournemouth University, and while I didn't win the award, it was a very nice, warm feeling to think that I had people looking out for me and nominating me. Starting a business can be a very lonely and emotional roller coaster, and I'm still on it right now. And when those things come out of the blue and you don't expect them, they really do make your day. So forwarding on to November, I attended the Make UK regional dinner in Bristol. The Smema Hermes adapter was nominated for an award for innovation, and I was there to go and see if we won the award. We didn't. And I expected not to, because we're not a Make UK member, but it was a good introduction to the organisation. I was a little disappointed by how they didn't announce the nominees on the night. There is a separate video available to show my initial reaction to that, because from my point of view it was going to be a bit of a marketing situation to say we'd been nominated, and whether we got one or not was irrelevant really. But to potentially have the logo on the screen above the stage and things like that would have been a worthwhile trip. However, they didn't. They just announced the winner. So the question was whether everyone in the room was nominated, and of course they were. Now, from other people's point of view, it's an event to go to with the colleague, isn't it? I mean, it's a party. It was in November, just before Christmas. So from other people's point of view, then it's fair enough. It's a reason to get together. And the reality is, with awards, you put money in and you get awards out. As we weren't members, we weren't going to get that. However, it took me personally a lot of time to try and consolidate 6 years worth of R&D and starting a business into a few questions, and it took me about 3 days, plus all the accommodation and the travel and the time off, which at the time I was in a big customer support round. So I was a little deflated by that situation, but hey ho, we've got the nomination and it's in the history books now, so fair enough. Being more positive now, I was featured on the Reliability Matters podcast hosted by Mike Conrad. Mike had seen a presentation I put together for the Dorset Engineering Cluster regarding Industry 4.0, and he invited me on the show to pretty much go over that presentation and talk about Industry 4.0, what it was, what it wasn't, what it is, a people change, the dot-com boom, what it isn't, technology change. That might be smart factory. It was really nice talking to Mike, because he's also founder of a machine builder, and he's realised that in this day and age you've got to get yourself out there and put yourself in front of the camera. The kind of journalistic industry of my industry is very much corporate level, and everyone's sponsored, so you don't really get any opinion from the ground level. Since the pandemic, there's been a great upsurge of views on podcasts from the shop floor, from the bottom, and it's really great to see this change happening, and Mike's podcast is one of them. It was not going to be a promotional exercise, it was more going to be an introduction of me and get my name out there and the business name out there, but he did surprise me at the end by featuring the products, the Hermes adapter, at the end, which is very kind of him to do so, and I thank you for that, Mike, if you're watching this. So that means we can now talk about year 7, which is year 2023. At the start of the year, it was mainly prepping for IPC Apex Expo in San Diego. This is the first trade show I was able to attend in person since the pandemic, the first time to attend a trade show since the launch of the Hermes and Ethernet adapters, and they were very well received. I've written up a blog of my experience of the trade show, and it should be on the screen now. It really did answer the question of why we were getting customers requesting the SMEMA Ethernet adapter. I didn't actually go to the trade show to find that out, but of course it's a point where you can talk to customers, talk to the industry, and that's what it is all about. I think the answer is quite simple. There's been so much market consolidation in the last few years, which has been a benefit, of course. It has meant that certain suppliers who were feeling like they were the small guys of the industry have now bolstered up with the larger group of people, and education has now starting to flourish between the kind of suppliers out there. The downside of it all is it becomes a big bubble, and if you're a small customer or needing a small problem to be fixed, you have to go through the normal sales channels. And I guess over time, as the consolidation has occurred, certain ring fences have occurred, whether they're just mentally or whether they're actual there is something to be debated. But essentially customers, especially the smaller customers, simply want a small company to go to with a solution that they can just quickly buy off the shelf. No courting, no kind of hard sales patter or whatever. They just want to go in there, get the solution and get out. And that's the spirit of the business I'm trying to form. To be honest, it's the building blocks, it's creating the building blocks of the industry. Software is definitely going to be king, but to buy a simple bit of hardware that does your solution is what the majority of companies I deal with simply want. And line solutions and bigger, grander solutions are great, but when you've got a customer still using a file to transport their data from A to B, then that's what you need to cater for initially, for the building blocks, the stepping stones of the industry. So I think that really answered my question of why the sales were so good for the SMEMA Ethernet adapter. Of course, again, and it was designed to do this, the Ethernet adapter is a very raw product, and it's intended for those engineers that want to develop their own software or develop their own integrations with their existing solutions, where the bigger, larger solutions out there are more holding the customer's hand. And I feel that we need to avoid getting into that, because okay, it's great that all customers around the world are on one particular solution, but the reality is innovation comes from play. And if we just sell them one solution, you are a XYZ shop and you have that solution, then it's obviously going to constrain innovation. So building solutions on platforms, on hardware platforms, on software platforms, that's where we need to be. We don't want to be at the point where we were probably a decade ago, where people were creating raw software, I guess you could call it. We need to have platforms out there that people can then build upon, and that's a little bit of that gets us in the kind of a nice sweet point between bespoke solutions and platform solutions that create an ecosystem, a walled garden kind of situation. We need somewhere in between, and I think that's what the SMEMA Ethernet adapter has certainly given the customers that we've sold them to.
Are you ready to go shopping?
It's approaching 9 p.m. and you find me outside the supermarket. But why is that, David? Well, if you go back to our videos from 2017, you'll find that I went into bootstrapping mode, and bootstrapping is where you find a second job to live your lifestyle, I guess. The money was, the initial funding was running out and something had to be done. I could have said, well, money's run out, so go back to the day job, but that was giving up an opportunity that I felt that wouldn't come along that often. Now, the opportunity wasn't necessarily starting a business, you can do that anytime, but it was the investment that gave me a logical reason to tell family and friends what I was doing. So I didn't feel like it was right to give up that from year one, or after year one. Starting businesses, you can start them in many ways. The most organic way you can start a business is go more into self-employment and then find people that are in a similar boat and then kind of organically move into creating a business. There's the more extreme approach, which you have an idea and you jump off your day job and start a business. That's a bit risky in my view. So I was kind of somewhere in between. I knew that because I was building a product-based business, income wouldn't come in within year one. If you're running a service business, you might find that a bit more easier and you might have more connections with your customers. But this was developing a product without any customer backing from day one. So, how can you bootstrap? Well, you can go back to your day job and then see your business as your side project, I guess. And I've done that many times in my career and it doesn't work out. Two reasons, really. You can't represent yourself by your business. Your purpose or what you tell people will probably be your day job. So you can't be proud of what you're doing. The second fact is that even if your management are happy with what you're doing, it only takes one person to say maybe you're underperforming or you're not doing something before the gossip chain of that company starts up, and you can start to again close down your proudness of what you're doing because you're scared of what people are saying. The next one is probably a bit of half and half, which is you take a skilled employment and then maybe 1 or 2 days a week you work on your business. Now, I could do that, and potentially in the future I would do that, but working on code for one company, then working on code or product development for another company seemed to be very stressful. I couldn't imagine doing that. I've heard of people doing that and they pull it off and they transition, but I don't think it was for me. I'm a focused person, I like to be focused. So the other alternative is to take up non-skilled employment or use the days that other people see as their bonus days, and that's the weekends. So I think what I did, I started to look at weekend jobs. And the benefit of doing that is that I could focus on customers, focus on meetings, attend anything that I needed to do during the Monday to Friday, but then the weekend would be earning the bootstrapping money. And that's what I started to look into. And then I think I fell across the idea of working nights, and that's what I've been doing for the last 5 years. I've been working in the supermarket behind me for 5 years, Friday and Saturday nights, which means I had a 20-hour week shift, and that paid my bills. It was stressful, and sometimes the weeks were more stressful because of the bootstrapping job than actually my day job. Working with people from different walks of life, can be a little emotional, trying to get them on the same page, let's say. So it wasn't all easy, and also I was working a 7-day week for that period of time. So I would get very tired towards the end, Thursday evenings, for example, realizing that the next day I would be working Friday nights, sacrificing my personal life, sacrificing any opportunity to meet new people during the weekends, I guess. So, but at the same time, freed up the week, it also gives people in the future to realise what I've done to make this business successful, and I've not just begged for money and expected people to pay it. So I hope it gives the grittiness and the determination that I have inside of me. When I went to Apex Expo in San Diego at the start of the year, I looked around the room and I realised that lots of people are running businesses my own age, and lots of people are now younger than me. The industry has now moved on to a point that I think I can now rejoin the industry. Sorry, it's cold. And so I went away from the trade show realising I had to make a change. 5 years is a long time to take out my life. I'm not getting any younger, and at the start of the year, in February, I left the bootstrapping job. By this point, sales have been coming in, and I never really expected to take money out of the business for my own personal needs. I wanted to grow the business. My competition is venture capital businesses that don't make profit or margin, profit or revenue for a long, long time. That's my competition. So taking money out of the business seems to be disabling it a little bit, but I am where I am, and after 5 years, it was time to leave. So I left this company behind me in February, and I'm pleased to say I've succeeded. I've survived the year so far. Whether I go back to bootstrapping, I'm not sure. I think I will have to go back to a technical role again. Definitely. It would be nice if I can find something in between, if I need to, that is. But sales have been coming in, and my salary has been paid, which is a great achievement, and I'm so happy that I put in the grit to get to this situation. So I left this in February. I left it in style, of course. You'll know more about that in the biography in the future. But let's just say I stood by my values, and I'm happy the way I left. It was a story in itself. So that is the story of my bootstrapping. Later in May, I was host of my first work experience student, and there's a separate video that will be on the screen probably now to go and watch that. It was great from my point of view because it, from a personal point of view, brought out my nurturing quality. I've wanted to nurture, support, give the next generation the ladders and the ropes to get onto our industry, to get up and be a software engineer or understand their industry. Education is a lacking of our industry, even from the customer's point of view, but also just generally to get people to understand what their industry is. So to expose a 17-year-old to our industry, and also the second thing was to demonstrate that actually someone could develop onto the Multiplug, which is the software that is a platform that we use, and for him to come away from it with actually creating something that actually is now being deployed in our product. So I wanted to avoid him cleaning computers, which is kind of, or just shadowing people, which is kind of what I did when I was his age. And it was a really good mix of coding and visiting the industry during the week. So yeah, there's a link below to see the kind of the wash-up meeting of that week. So one thing I forgot to say is early in the year, in around April time, the team at Raspberry Pi, the single board computer manufacturer, contacted me to ask if they could take the Hermes adapter to Embedded World in Nuremberg, Germany. So this was a bit of free publicity. We were featured all over their social media, and now the actual product is featured on the Powered by Raspberry Pi section on their website. So that was brilliant. The only downside is I didn't go myself, but it was nice to see the product in the field. Quentin, which is the project name of the adapter, traveling the world. So that brings us up to the current day. Welcome to Munich and Productronica, the trade show, which occurs every 2 years. This is a really big electronics trade show. It goes on for 4 days. I was here yesterday for the Hermes Standard meeting, and I'm here for another couple of days, spreading the word of both of the adapters. So, what have I learned over the last 7 years? I think it's been confirmed to me, my class, my social class. I'm working class, born into a working class family, so there's no surprise there really. And I've created a working class business. Some would say it's a traditional way of starting a business. I was born as dyslexic, and education was a struggle for me. My goal was to be normal, to see normal average to come out of education, but it was a struggle. But being a dyslexic person, I kind of learned some workarounds.
Then I wanted to jump a bit and ask you a different question. You gave an answer to Business Leader magazine in 2018 to the question, what has been behind your success in business? And you said that it was your dyslexia. Then what was it about being dyslexic that you attribute so much of your success to?
Workarounds. Because every time I got into a classroom, I didn't have a bloody clue what was going on. And I had to logically find workarounds. The way my friends did their work, thought through problems and followed through problems as they were taught was alien to me. But I was incredibly competitive. I knew I wasn't a dozo because outside class, my peer group were in a lot higher grades to me, but they were my peer group. So I had to find different ways of getting over problems. So I would carry a dictionary in my pocket because I couldn't spell. But that slows you down a bit. There was no spell check in those days. I would find different ways of doing maths and equations. Totally different to the way we took. I couldn't get my head around the way we were being taught. So I spent my whole life working out different ways to get over that issue. So when I left school and started work, actually it felt like a bit of a breeze because I could problem solve very, very quickly. And that problem solving is quite, benefit is quite common in lots and lots of people, not just dyslexics, but people who, for one reason or another, can't enjoy mainstream education.
And one of the easiest, obvious workaround is keeping at it, which is difficult in education because sometimes you're told the exam is 60 minutes long, or even in the world of sports and competitive situations, there's a black and white situation where you win or you lose, or you have that set amount of time and you can't work any more than that. So, as a dyslexic, I've kept at it, and that's exactly what I've done in running this business 7 years on, and I'm starting to see progress, and I'm starting to see success. And some people in my similar boat may have seen it much earlier, but I kind of realized that this industry is very slow. I knew as generational change would need to occur, and I just had to be there at the right time in the right place. it's not luck. It's called making your own luck. It's making sure you're in the right place at the right time. Working class people make their opportunities. Okay, so imagine a shopkeeper, imagine a market stall trader. What they do, they have to either source the products or they have to make the products. And so they open their doors, they open the shop door, or they open their market stall, and the fact of a customer buying that product is based upon impulse. Working class customers are impulse buyers, and so they have to be visionary. They have to think ahead, they have to take that risk, and that's what working class people do. They make their opportunities. It's been important for me to understand my class, and it's been important to confirm my class, because in the world of venture capital and private finance, those worlds are very middle class. So what's the difference in middle class? Middle class people, they get given their opportunities. So they may be born into the right family at the right time, they're given that opportunity. But if they don't have it in front of them, the opportunity, they have to ask for it. They have to behave in the right way. They have to say the right thing. It's very much an upfront approach to getting that opportunity. My opportunity comes from the fact that I've now made a product that I will sell, and that will give me more opportunities as more customers come in and doors start to open. A middle class person says the right things, behaves the right way, and so they get the green light from whoever gives you that opportunity. The question there is their behaviour. Does that make them behave a certain way? And that's a question for you to ask yourself. What I don't like about that is you are begging for an opportunity. You are ultimately allowing others to dictate your future, to allow them to say, go for it. Here's the money, here's the cash, you can now go for it. And that's not the way I work. I've realised a long time ago, because I'm a dyslexic, because I'm not a great talker, that I had to do the thing and then the opportunities will come. Middle class people, they can say the right things, given the opportunity, they might deliver, they might not. But that was not going to be me. I realised that a long time ago. So where do I get my drive from? Well, I guess a lot of it comes from my dyslexic background, as I said, trying to be normal, always putting in 130% in and only getting 70% return normally sometimes means that you do other things in life and you become great at what you do. It certainly doesn't come from trying to impress family. My mum died when I was 20. She would definitely be my cheerleader right now. And my dad, he's a working class guy. He mentally changed the locks on the family home when I was 18. He's physically done that at the start of the year when he found out that I finished bootstrapping. So he's in no interest in supporting, or I don't need to impress him. Friends have been great at supporting me, checking in with me, but the reality is that they've got their lives to lead. They're growing families, they're growing their careers. It's very much different when you do this when you're a bit older than when you're younger. When you're 18, when you're 20s, anything you do is great and put in the media and people fanfare about it. But when you get older, it's just they check in with me and they're great friends, but I'm not trying to impress them, put it that way. So it's really about me being selfish. It's really just about being me, which is not necessarily a story I want to tell, because the story today is this is my business. I use the term we a lot in my videos because there are a lot of people that have supported me and the business. So it is a we situation. People come, people go, and so it is a we. But essentially, the story so far is that this is a business, not a company. A company is a collection of people. So that is the future. And with all the success that's come from the last 2 years, I'm shipping product week by multiple times a week, and so that will probably most likely continue, and I will have to expand, and as soon as I expand, that's when it becomes a company. And I'm sure that next year, when you join me with the next anniversary video, you will find that I have succeeded in doing that. So finally, let's take a look at some sales data. So this is at the end of 2023. The high level number is we have 25 customers in 16 countries. So let's take a quick look at the breakdown of that. First of all, the SMEMA Ethernet adapter. Very much all over Europe. And there's 8 countries that we're serving currently. Let's quickly look at the Hermes. Hermes, we have 10 countries. Still spread over Europe, but we've had major sales in Asia. So how can we interpret that? Well, this is my guess, which is a lot of the Asian customers are in the mindset of partnerships. Obviously, lots of manufacturing already over in Asia, and so a lot of upgrades are needed. The amount of the volume of sales per customer has been much greater in Asia, which means that full production lines have been upgraded. Where if we look at European customers, they've been doing it as I would expect, which is a gradual rollout, partnering the adapters with individual machines, getting the data into those machines that are compatible, and then working on repeat sales to gradually migrate their lines up to the Hermes standard. In regards to the types of customer uses, clearly the Hermes adapter is pretty simple. They're wanting to upgrade a SMEMA piece of equipment to Hermes. For the SMEMA Ethernet adapter, that's been more small projects to start and stop lines, of course, integration with a customer's piece of MES software, or we've had some OEM sales where an OEM has a particular type of machine and they want to place it over a SMEMA conveyor. So I just click on and off those to show you the differences in the countries. So very happy with the sales. Those majority of those sales are in this year 2. So, and the types of customer are 50-50 between a kind of small, medium enterprise, and or a large contract manufacturer, which potentially could have a lot of influence in the broader sense of its footprint around the world. So these are a lot of doors that are opening. So I'm pretty pleased with 25 customers, 16 countries, and I can see a traction building. There's never been a month that has been lesser than the previous month. So I'm really happy with that. So that concludes the yearly anniversary video. Thank you very much for watching. If you have got to this point, these are intended just as a memory of the year and the journey so far. Really, they're not really intended for customers or anyone else. They're purely intended for maybe if you're also on a startup journey to understand what it takes. And if you have been, thank you very much for watching.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. While some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.